Good evening, Patriots, and welcome to The Better View. I'm your host, Tracy Belmonte, joined by my squad tonight. First up, the beautiful, the stupendous, the fabulous Deanna Lorraine. Deanna, how are you tonight?
Fantastic and fabulous. How are you tonight, Tracy?
I'm doing really, really well. It's been a really crazy week. We're going to unpack it all for you, from the Covington boys all the way up to the State of the Union drama and more. And also joining us, the wonderful, amazing, and talented Joey Manorino. Joey, 2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row, and I'm not even a woman. How am I getting this privilege? Maybe this my transition? Could that be it?
Well, tonight you can identify as a woman, right?
Okay,
I think you're allowed to do that. Yeah,
and then I switch back. That's the rules.
Exactly. Well, I only identify as a man when it comes to the shorter bathroom lines when I'm out at the bar, so it works really handily. So we're going to play the left's game sometimes.
That works.
So anyway, let's get right into it. And last week, we had the left championing Gillette, right? And if you recall, we talked about that at length, and Joey was our representative toxic male. Deanna, talking about Gillette and toxic masculinity is right up your alley because of your wonderful book, and you go into it in your book. You have a whole chapter dedicated to it. So Gillette was teaching us, and the left, was jumping on that bandwagon. Boys, we can't be violent. But then the Covington Catholic High School scandal erupted, which was a big nothing burger. It was a fake scandal. And suddenly the tolerant, peaceful, Gillette-loving left turned into a lynch mob. Pretty scary that in the George Orwell book, everybody's very familiar with, 1984, they talk about in this book, which is a work of fiction, but it's becoming reality, they talk about how face crime, making certain faces, is a crime. And we know that this young man, Nicholas Salmon, smirked. And his smirk was heard around the world. It was blown out of proportion. Deanna, why don't you tell us, just get us up to speed, what we thought Covington was and what actually happened.
Sure. Well, of course, what the left does constantly, they see anyone with a Trump hat, they see anyone that's a conservative or they even think is a conservative, and they automatically paint them as the villain in any story. We see that over and over and over again. And so they jump to conclusions, or they knew exactly what happened, but they just wanted to paint the story as it was, of these kids that were in a stand down with a Native American man. And they said that the kids were taunting the Native American man and throwing racial slurs at him and acting in violent bullying ways toward him. And everyone was feeling so sorry for the Indian man and saying that, oh, that's a terrible thing for these guys to do, for these boys to do, and shaming them publicly. Then what do we find out, as usual? That the boy was actually being taunted by the Native American man. And the truth of the matter was, if they just cared to look at a couple of minutes of that media reel, they would easily see that the Native American man was the one challenging and trying to shame and intimidate the boy. And it was the boy that actually stood there. And I thought he really just was there trying to let him do his thing, let him, finish whatever ritual he was doing. And I thought he was very respectful and mature for a boy of that age. And they haven't issued any kind of apology yet. And it's just so sickening that they never apologize over fake news.
Yeah, when the story broke, we thought this was a Native American Vietnam veteran. We found out that was a lie. He did not serve in Vietnam, not even close to the time that Vietnam War was. He also went AWOL about 3 times, and he was basically a refrigerator mechanic, and then went on a 20-year alcoholic bender. And we're also learning that he's basically the Native American Al Sharpton. He's a charlatan. He tries to create these scenarios, and he saw these young white boys and one African-American boy who was getting taunted for being black with these March for Life kids, because that's where they were at the March for Life. And, saw an opportunity, saw the MAGA hats, and he seized upon it. Thank goodness somebody had the whole video. I watched the whole hour and some odd minutes. It's about an hour and a half long. And you see this group, they're a militant group. They call themselves the Black Israelites. They are vile, and we have them here in New York, and they are in DC, and it doesn't matter like where they are, they just hurl racist slurs at you constantly. I don't know why this is allowed to go on, because it is quite disgusting. So these men were taunting these kids, and then this Native American guy, Nathan Phillips, comes out of nowhere banging a drum, which was actually kind of comical, because it was just like, what else is going to happen, you know? So Joey, what was your take on all of this?
Well, at first I saw it and I was a little bit looking at the kids as though they were doing wrong, because you had only seen that 1 minute clip of the, kids, and I saw his face. His face was just a face. I mean, I don't know how you can really make a smirk into something that it's not, but you were being told that they were chanting "Build the Wall," which is not offensive, by the way.
Right.
You were being told that they were chanting all these horrible things when it was the opposite. As soon as I heard Black Israelites, I knew what was going on, because anybody who's from Philadelphia would know, outside of the market, when you walk out of the train station, your Reading Terminal Market, every single day of the summertime, the Black Israelites are outside, and they scream at the white people. They have microphones, and they scream how horrible we are. Get out of this country. Get out of the city. They did it to me walking by once with my girlfriend, just started screaming about how we're two horrible white people. And the police don't do anything. They actually give them a microphone and let them set up. There's like 12 of them. So when I heard that, I said, oh boy, I know what's going on here. But it's just another example of anything you do when you are wearing the Make America Great Again hat is going to be ripped apart. If you're a white kid, Catholic is the new enemy, by the way. We talked about this last week too. They're coming hard for the Catholics for good reason, because Amy Coney Barrett is coming up, I think. But it's a big attack on the things in this country that are not controversial. Catholicism, white people, and hats that are political slogan. I mean, and smiling. They should be offended by Nathan Phillips' smile if you saw those teeth. But I don't know.
Oh, that's really funny. And the left lost their minds. I did the same thing you did, Joey. Like when I first saw it, and I was like, oh, that's terrible, because it's a bad representation of MAGA. And I always caution people that are MAGA, watch what you say and watch what you post. I mean, yeah, someone comes at you, you can go after them, but use your mind. Don't be intellectually lazy. Don't call them, don't take a cheap shot. Don't call them a name about their appearance, or take a cheap shot about anything that could be misconstrued and used against us by the left. Use your brain, talk about policy and facts. Let them be the emotional bad ones, which they usually are. And the left just, they jump to massive conclusions, and they put out such disgusting tweets. We had a Disney producer named Jack Morrissey expressing a wish to murder these boys by putting them in a wood chipper. We had CNN contributor Bakari Sellers, who fantasized about punching these 15-year-old boys in the face. I mean, they were called incest babies, crackers, future school shooters. And those are the nicest insults I can repeat that they were called by the Black Israelites. And then you get this Indian drummer boy coming out of nowhere. I mean, Nicholas Sandmann, we all should be Nicholas Sandmann. That young man, how you have the restraint at 15 years old to just kind of stand there and take it. But when I'm watching this video, though, what bothered me the most, and you have to understand, I'm coming from an educational standpoint as an educator for 20 years. Where were the chaperones and the parents? Why didn't they pull them out of this inflammatory situation to begin with? That's what I personally want to know, because that young man should never have been put in that position. And I'll tell you what, if I was on a field trip and that was one of my kids, that drumstick would be where the sun doesn't shine, because you're harming my child, and I consider any child that I'm in charge with my child. So I don't know where the adults were and why they didn't pull them out of harm's way. Not that I'm letting off any of the leftists, like the Black Israelites who started the whole thing. So Deanna, what do you think?
I also had that same question. Where are their guardians? Where were their supervisors? It's sad to me. No one was sticking up for them. And to be honest, what I saw when I saw that kid, is Nicholas Sandmann, I didn't smile was any kind of smile of pleasure or glee. I felt to me like he was scared and was intimidated by what was happening right in front of him. And he didn't want to run away because it was almost like disrespectful to what the guy was doing. You know, maybe he was doing some sort of a Native American ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was something positive. He didn't really know at first. But I think it was a sign of respect that he didn't just run away or call him names. But he stood there, kind of almost looked like, if you look at his eyes, it looked like he was maybe about to cry, but trying to be brave and hold it in and you know, not be so scared. But I think it was more of a scared smile instead of a nervous smile, instead of like a laughter and a, you know, a making fun of him kind of a smirk. So I hope that they sue the hell out of these media outlets. I really hope they get some justice. That attorney needs to make an example out of all of the cases that the media does, libel and slander over conservatives every day. And I'm sick of it. And I just hope that they win.
Yeah, and I think that this is just the beginning of something. Maybe this is actually a blessing in disguise, because not only are these young men going to be multimillionaires, and they earned every penny and they deserve every penny. There's not enough money in the world that they could give them for going through what they've gone through, where they've been threatened to be shot at their schools and other death threats. Their parents' workplaces have been called. They've been doxxed all over the place. I mean, you know, these young men, especially this Nicholas Salmon, have targets on their back right now, so they deserve every penny of that. But maybe this is the point where this yellow journalism that we see so often, maybe this is the point where it finally stops. Somebody's putting their foot down and suing these outlets to make them responsible for the dirt and disgustingness that they're putting out there. You know, I really hope so. Now, Joey, you had mentioned, and you tied two things together. You tied the March for Life, because you brought up the Supreme Court pick, which is
Right.
The possibility it could be Amy Coney Barrett, with what these boys were doing. And maybe there was a Soros-backed group that was funding this charade to go on, looking for this photo op, because they want to paint anti-abortion activists in a very bad light, because anti-abortion activists are more likely to be MAGA than not. So perhaps this has to do with, you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's been absent from the court. It's like 3 weeks already, and it's leading many people to speculate that she is very seriously ill. Like, I mean, there are people demanding proof. I don't mean to laugh and be cavalier, because I don't wish, I'm one of those conservatives, I will never wish, you know, an old person ill health, or any person for that matter. I think that's just a callous thing to do. Do I think it's time for her to retire? Absolutely. But, you know, there are a lot of whispers, you know, where is she? Is she, you know, with us still? But from what I'm hearing, she is very seriously ill. So maybe this had to do with something with abortion, because we know that the next Supreme Court pick is going to be done by President Trump, and probably imminently. What do you think, Joe?
I think that we really have to look at what the media is going to be talking about now, because all the stories that have been coming up as of late seem very rehearsed. I don't care what anybody says. That whole incident seemed planned. It doesn't come together so perfectly that you have the kid with the MAGA hat, somebody filming here, somebody filming there. You had all the angles, all the cameras. I really do think there was some level of planting going on there. And you also have the stories all over about Catholics. You saw the Knights of Columbus thing last week. I don't know what's going on, but everybody knows the biggest pro-life organization in America is probably the Catholic Church, just by sheer numbers. And they have their own issues. But it's just very interesting that this is all coming out now. And I hope that when it comes time to have our 2020 election, the Catholic Church remembers this, because in 2016, I go to church and they just sit there and talk about how horrible Trump is. They don't ever mention his name, but they talk about, we must welcome all our refugees fleeing from the southern border. Lord, hear our prayer. Why don't you shut up and actually look at how the Democrats hate you, viciously hate you, call us extremists. The way they dissed Christian schools. I remember it was hashtag expose Christian schools on the Sunday. I mean, they were talking about it like it was a concentration camp. My gay friends were beaten up by the... What are you talking about, the 40s and the 50s? I mean, give me a break. I went to Catholic school from pre-K to 8th grade, and then Quaker school, which was a mistake, from 8th grade to 12th grade. Always Christian school. Never in my life did I see any racism going on, any, oh, you can't be gay, any beating of the students, any extremism. I don't know what these people are talking about, but that whole movement, and I've seen it spike up since the start of this year. Something's going on, and the only thing that my mind says is it has to do something with the Supreme Court or another abortion issue that's happening right now in a lot of liberal states.
Yeah, so that's a great segue and a great transition into the abortion law. If I seem out of sorts, it's because I was up half the night crying that this law passed in my state. You might have heard about the passage of this law. One World Trade Center, very sacred place. This is a burial of my cousin. This is the burial of friends that I have that their bodies were never found in that site. So they are all over there as far as I'm concerned. It's sacred ground. And Governor Cuomo lit the World Trade Center up and the spire pink to celebrate the passage of a new abortion law, this so-called Reproductive Health Act. And I was absolutely disgusted and horrified that this was very quietly passed and then celebrated on the 46th anniversary of Roe versus Wade. So let me tell you what this law does, Deanna, and I'm going to ask you to react to it. Basically, it does two things. One, it redefines what a person is, and it defines a person now as a human being who has been born and is alive. So they do not consider a fetus, no matter what month you're in, 8th month, 9th month, they don't care. That's no longer a person, and it is decriminalized to kill this thing this entity that they don't recognize as a person. So if a pregnant woman were to get killed, it is no longer a double homicide. That fetus no longer counts, which I think is disgusting. So that's the one thing that it does. The second thing that it does is it allows the abortions to be performed by non-doctors. Okay, they have to go to a class. And if they have the abortion within the first 5.5 months, it's all good to go. But they can have the abortion all the way up until the 9th month for health reasons. And the health provision is written so broadly, it's nauseating. Basically, health provision can be anything. It could be mentally, now you're afraid to be a mother, or mentally, you don't feel like you have the money to take care of this fetus or this entity that they refuse to call a person. And if you want to abort your baby at 8 months because you're having a change of heart and you're depressed, maybe you were going to have that baby because your boyfriend was going to dump you. Well, maybe now I don't want to be a mom, so I'm going to go and abort it. Now, I don't know what monster on earth would do this as far as a practitioner goes, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they made non-doctors able to perform these, because they know that some doctors probably will not do that. But this is absolutely monstrous. And, at 24 weeks of pregnancy, even that's bad because the baby can see and the baby can hear. It has a face. The face is fully formed with eyelashes and eyebrows and hair. And, and even that's pretty gruesome. So, Deanna, I know this is a terrible topic, but what are your thoughts?
I'm tearing up a little bit because I am so saddened at the state of America right now. I'm sorry. How can we pass this law? And how can people not only pass this, but be cheering it on, celebrating it, and then lighting up the One World Trade Center in pink to celebrate murder, to celebrate the fact that we can kill babies when they're more developed, when they're closer to life, and that we're not even acknowledging the baby as the fetus as a life anymore? I mean, how sick, how sadistic, how soulless has America become that we've allowed that and that we're actually cheering it on and calling it a victory? Everywhere I read the headlines were calling it victory, victory for women. How is that a freaking victory, you soulless woman? I'm sorry, but I'm going to just let them have it, because like how far have we come where we used to think of abortion universally as something that was immoral. Then it went from, you know what, maybe abortion is okay in rare and unusual circumstances. Excuse me. Then it went from that to now cheering it on and calling a fetus not even a human being and saying it's okay for any reason at all, and then making that a victory. It's like we're celebrating immorality. We're celebrating soullessness, and it's just a slow decline in our sensitivity, right? Our we've just removed ourselves and desensitized ourselves from our heart, from our feelings, from our motherly instincts, you know. And it really scares me. It frightens me that we've come this far down into this dark pit, and so many women are okay with it. It disgusts me as a woman. It disgusts me as a person, and I just don't really have any more words to say than that.
I agree. It's really difficult to talk about. And I'm already talking with people in the know, making plans. We're going to fight this law. And my goal is to bring it up to the Supreme Court and let the Supreme Court decide on this. We can't let this barbarity stand. And
after the March for Life march too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and even Roe, in Roe versus Wade, Norma McCovey, she's passed away, but she was conned into bringing that suit. You know, she had gotten pregnant with her third child. This is back in 1971. She did not want to have this baby. Her friends told her, she came from Texas, and it was legal to get an abortion if you were raped. Her friends said, make up the story. She got caught. And then these two feminist left lawyers got a hold of her and said, oh, come on, we'll sue. And it'll just be for women that are under in extreme circumstances, that they'll be able to have an abortion. So, you know, she said she got conned. She did not want to bring it all the way up to the Supreme Court. And she spent a good part of her life as a pro-life advocate trying to overturn this wrong. And we almost did back in the early 80s. If it wasn't for Sandra Day O'Connor, we would have actually overturned Roe versus Wade. Now, Joey, the liberal women out there, look, I have to say I have a lot of faith in humanity because I've been getting a lot of support, because I've really taken this issue to heart. I do know women that have had an abortion, and it's like it destroyed two lives, not just the baby's life, but their life. You know, when these women are like, oh, abortion's no big deal, you celebrate it. I know women that really, never recovered fully from that in their psyche and in their spirit. And these women that are on the left will fool you and kid you into thinking it's no big deal. And they'll say to people like Joey, you don't have a right to say anything about that fetus or that non-person or whatever. I don't know what the heck they're going to call it. It is a person. We know that. Joey, what do you have to say to those feminazis that think you don't have a voice for the voiceless?
Who else has a voice if we don't? I mean, we need to speak up, men, women, everybody, because this is not, I mean, when you cross even the 4th month, I mean, this is barbary at that point. But you're talking about down to the 9th month. People have delivered successful living babies at like 6 months as premature. And you're talking about you can just decide that you want to kill it. Mental health is going to be the statute. And you know how they define mental health in New York. They
so
consider
broad.
Cuomo and Blasio sane. So everybody else is too. It's crazy. And I really think that this is going to be a big wake-up call. And it might backfire. But not in your state, unfortunately.
No, sadly, no.
Which was my state for many years too, has just gone off the deep end. They have a far left Democrat state house, state senate. It's just gone off the deep end. But I think the rest of the country is looking at this like what it is. You cannot, I mean, look, every child that was born premature has to say to themselves, wow, you could have killed me in the 7th month just because you changed your mind. You know how many times the doctors say to the mothers that, oh, well, the baby could turn out a little messed up. The baby might have Down syndrome when it comes out, and then it comes out perfectly fine.
That's right.
You know how many lives are going to be lost because of the poor predictions of these doctors, and that's not necessarily their fault. I know people. I have a cousin that they told was going to be a Down syndrome baby. He came out 100% fine, 100% fine. The mother, she's very religious. Her husband's very religious too. They wanted to abort it. They wanted to abort it because of the doctor, and then they had some dream or something, and God came to them in a dream. It's one of those type of stories. Don't abort the baby. Came out, and it's fine. In New York, it would have been aborted now. And look at that. I mean, it's just sick. I can't believe it. I can't believe we live in a world where people think you can celebrate it. And I was watching a video today of one of the Women's March protesters. I've had 2 abortions and I love them. That should be, I like freedom of speech, but at that point, you should be committed. I know people that have had abortions. They don't like to talk about it. They don't celebrate it. If you celebrate it, you're a sociopath. That's the only explanation. So we have a problem here. I hope they can fix it, but I don't have much faith in anything in New York.
I know, and that's why I'm working with some high-level people. That it does include some figures in the church and people in government, and we're going to do what we can to fight it because it's just wrong. I mean, we live in a state now. New York, man, you talk about an asshole, right? Cuomo, right before the election, pardoned 33,000 pedophiles to give them voting rights, and we vote in schools, okay? So he let these pedophiles go where the kids are to vote for him to get him back into office. So we care more about pedophiles in this state. We think that walls are immoral, but not murdering a 9-month-old baby. That's not immoral. I mean, it's absolutely sick. So,
I'm convinced.
What, Deanna? I'm sorry.
Cuomo's a psychopath. I'm convinced.
Oh, without a doubt. Don't make any mistake here, because the Democrat Party is steeped in eugenics. They championed abortion with Margaret Sanger, who became the founder of what we now call Planned Parenthood. She championed it because they wanted to get rid of the disabled. They wanted to get rid of what they felt the mentally unfit, those who weren't able to work, and then minorities. And she was a damn racist. She spoke in front of the Nazis. Like, they loved Nazi Germany culture, and they loved that they practiced eugenics in extinguishing a religion in that case. But we wanted to extinguish race in that, not we, but they did in America.
It's well documented. Nick Cannon, he's one of the only African-American celebrities who speaks out about it.
Yes.
He talks about it all the time. The original Planned Parenthood locations were strategically placed to rid Black community from the earth. I mean, they wanted it out of America. And it's ironic. Part of their love for abortion, the Democrat Party, is why they love open borders now, because they aborted half their voting base.
Exactly right.
Thing. If they hadn't pushed abortion so much, they wouldn't have to import all of Mexico to come into this country and vote for them, because they've had the African American community, unfortunately, locked into them right now. But that's going to change too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and it is changing. Although, yeah, the MAGA hat is the new white hood, right, Alyssa Milano? I'll tell you, the more crazy and insane and to the left that the Democrats get, the better it is for us. And I do believe, and I've said it on the show before, that you're going to have a Democrat who's kind of like a Bill Clinton old school moderate, like Joe Manchin. He's going to become a Republican. He's going to have no choice. And the Democrat Party they're disaffecting the moderates. My brother became an independent. He was a Democrat. He was a Clinton Democrat. He was very moderate. He loves Trump. He's the biggest MAGA guy now, and he's like, he really regrets being a Democrat and throwing his support the first time to Obama and everything. So we're going to transition, though, because there was a lot of kind of fun drama. I know that this topic is a drab one and a sad one, but an important one that needs to be talked about, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more in the future. But we're going to transition to the State of the Union. It's been kind of fun to watch President Trump and Nancy Pelosi go at it, the tit for tat that's been going on. So you have, Pelosi, who's writing Donald Trump a note that says, hey, you can come do the State of the Union, but I don't think it's such a good idea because we don't have the security for it. Then Trump goes to the Homeland Security, Secret Service. They put out a statement saying, nope, we do have the security for it. So Nancy Pelosi thinks she can go on a trip. Trump pulls the trip from her. Now Trump writes her a letter and says, I plan on doing the State of the Union. Let's work this out. And she sends him a letter. State of the Union's canceled. So they have like this tit for tat pettiness going back and forth. And it's pretty delightful. I mean, as far as Trump keeps one-upping her and Pelosi is looking like petty Pelosi. It's not a good look for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. So, Deanna, did you happen to catch the madness?
Oh, yeah. It's like she's trying to talk back to her boss, and the boss obviously has bigger balls and a larger stick, and he's putting her in her place every time. And look, it just makes her look so childish, so immature, and so anti-American. You know, I mean, State of the Union, to try to cancel that for the American people, to cancel important messages from the president to the American people, which has it ever been canceled in history?
No.
I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
First time.
It's like, to do that to the American people is so disgusting, so anti-American, and makes, I think, her and all the Democrats look so bad and so childish and so small. I think it's going to backlash on them in the end. And Trump is looking like he's just doing his job. I don't think he's looking like an a-hole. I think he's just looking like he's putting his foot down and doing his job like a strong president should.
Yeah, it's in the Constitution that Trump has to give the State of the Union. It doesn't really give any parameters as far as where it is. He can write it out if he wanted to, but he won't. So Trump says that he does plan to be at the Capitol next Tuesday, but the White House is readying a plan B. So White House officials are essentially preparing for two tracks. They were planning for an address at the Capitol because it could still be in the Senate chamber, not necessarily the House chamber. That's a possibility, or it could be off-site, and they're thinking of an off-site location for Plan B, which might be super cool, especially if they keep it a secret. They keep that like lid on tight. Everyone is going to be watching that to see where they are and why. So, Joey, where do you think it'll be?
I don't have a clue. You can never predict what Donald Trump is going to do.
True.
I could see him take this opportunity, which would be smart, and to go to the middle of America somewhere, a swing state, maybe well, Iowa's not really swing, or neither is Ohio anymore. Maybe Pennsylvania would be nice. Maybe I'm biased, so maybe I could go up.
You want to go see him.
Somewhere like a rally style thing. Bring whatever Republicans want to come. The Democrats don't need to come. We don't need them there. And just show the world once and for all, this is what they are. They are the party of obstruction. I've been there to work all this time to solve this shutdown. They don't want to do it. They don't even want to let me talk to you, the American people. What are they doing? I think this was the dumbest move she's ever made in a series and career of dumb moves. It's very sad, and I don't know. It to me, if the left was sane, they would wake up and say, wow, you can't even give the State of the Union. Have we fallen this far? Is our government this broken? And who's breaking it? Nancy Pelosi. She's lied. She started out that it's all security reasons. That was debunked. Now she's just shown that, well, I don't want him to give it. I just don't want him to give it. It's moody. It plays very bad for Italian Americans, unfortunately. I'm so ashamed. Wouldn't you love to be able to claim her? Wouldn't you love to be able to say, that's our Italian American House Speaker? I don't even want people to know. She's more shameful than the Jersey Shore Italians to me. So I don't know what we're going to do, but it's going to be definitely an event, much more than it would have been had she just shut up and let him have it.
It's true. This was a really bad move. I think she's trying to project strength, but there are whispers that Nancy Pelosi is in the pocket of the Mexican mafia. I don't know if you've heard those whispers, but the Mexican mafia makes a lot of money off of trafficking humans, and they also make a lot of money off of drug trafficking, and they put a lot of money into the pockets of politicians like Nancy Pelosi. There are a lot of whispers, and we have some whistleblowers that are even coming out now and saying that, yeah, there really is a Mexican mafia, and they really do control the Democrat Party, and they basically bankroll their activities and give the party a lot of money. Now, I don't know if that's true or if it's just Nancy Pelosi maybe flexing her muscles because she's got these young, uncontrollable ladies that have now taken the seats in the House, like AOC and Rashida Tlaib and, those crazies. So maybe she's just trying to crack the whip and show her power or her strength. But I think this is a bad look on her part. And I think that there are some moderate Democrats that are now coming out to speak against this, that they don't like this either. There needs to be an adult in the room. What do you think, Deanna?
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the Democrats. It's also embarrassing for America. All it does is show a very strong message of disunity. It shows a broken government, a broken America that can't get along, that is battling back and forth with petty fights. And when we have a weak America that is not unified, that is totally on opposite sides of the fence like this, and that are having public squabbles and fights, it's really embarrassing, and it just makes our country look so much weaker. Donald Trump is trying to unify the country. He is a unifier at heart. If we just let him take his handcuffs off, he actually would unify the country, and I know he is. But all the Democrats want to do is break that unity up and create battles within the country. And it's very sad, because if he just was let loose, we would have so much of a strong posture in the world. We would have so much of a stronger opinion of America in the world. And that's all I want. I hope he does the rally in the middle of America for State of the Union. That would make history.
Oh, it would be super cool for sure. Super cool. I know that he probably wants to have it as close to DC as he possibly can, because he does want all the Republicans to be in attendance. And during the shutdown, I don't know if it's a good look for him to go elsewhere, but I personally don't care. But you know how the fake news media and the opposition media is going to spin things. But we'll see. What's going to be interesting is you try to predict a lot of Trump's moves, and I'm trying to predict, who do you think would be in attendance at the State of the Union to make the case that this border crisis needs to be solved, and it needs to be solved with a wall? Like, who do you think could be in attendance, Joey?
I would bring the ashes in urns. If anybody has ashes from the children killed by illegal immigrants, I'd leave empty chairs in the front row with like some white light on them or a candle or something. He has now no constraints because he's not in any set location.
True.
So he could make this the State of the Union 100% about border security, the crimes of illegals. If staged right, this could change the entire argument on the wall. And I hope they get somebody like Mark Burnett or somebody like that who's really, really an expert in staging and optics, because if done right, this could be the most historic State of the Union ever. And by any means necessary, we need to get the wall built. This is the time. This is really the last chance. I mean, the shutdown, it can't go on forever, but it's looking like it might. This is day 33. I'd also bring federal workers. I'd bring them there. Some of the ones that are in support of this, I'm sure they are.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was thinking.
Spotlight on these people and let them speak. Oh, and bring Nicholas Sandmann too.
Yes. I think you bring all the Covington kids. I think the whole lot of them, just to highlight fake news. It reminds me of the debate. I believe it was the second debate where Donald Trump invited all of Bill Clinton's victims to sit in the audience. Like, the optics of that, everyone was talking about that for days. So, Deanna, do you have any thoughts on who you would like to see at the State of the Union to prove a point?
I think the angel moms, the angel families, and ICE, and telling their stories, I think would be really, really powerful. Because it's more than just the wall, too. It's about border security and about treating ICE and our border agents with more respect instead of demonize them or say that we don't need them. Really making the point that this migrant caravan and this immigration crisis, it is a crisis. You know, I was on CNN last night, and they were talking, they were, you know, having me on with Democrats, trying to say that this was just a made-up crisis. There is no crisis at the border, made up by Republicans and Trump. And it's so disgusting to me, because I said, do the angel families not exist? You know, I mean, do these people not exist to you? They literally had their children killed by illegals. We have seen this time and time again, you know, and until it's put right in front of their face, you know, like what he said, until it's in front of their face, ashes, something to really make a point, and not, you know, not to be rubbing it in their face, but it seems like they will not get the message until it's really dramatic and right in front of their face that this is a crisis. It needs to be solved. Trump is right. Let's solve it. And then we can, you know, reopen the government.
Absolutely. You know, it's going to be interesting. So everybody's got to stay tuned to that, because man, I don't know what's going to happen with the shutdown, but I have a feeling that Trump and his team have a few aces up their sleeve. This is going to be must-see TV. I can't wait. I want to fast forward until next, to next Tuesday. Like I really want to like just fast forward right now to next Tuesday. So I found this story. I thought this was interesting. There is this man, he's a veteran. His name is Sergeant Jake Talbot, and he's out of Troy, Missouri, and he works out at the gym. He's a good-looking guy. So, you know, Jake, how you doing? All right. And anyway, so he goes to this gym called CDY Fitness, and he's wearing a Trump shirt, and he's worn it before. And the owner of the gym asked him not to wear the shirt again, saying that the shirt was offensive to her and others. You know, it looks like we have a war on MAGA and Trump shirts. So it's not just Trump hats. It's Trump shirts now, too. So the gym owner put out a statement, and she said, I don't believe our gym should be a political forum for anyone. I want everyone to feel safe and comfortable there. Oh, my goodness. Oh, and she also said that she wants to publicly continue to defend her stance for tolerance and against hate, no matter the financial consequence. What's so hateful? Joey, I think we left off with you. What's so hateful about wearing a Trump shirt?
It's the stupidest correlation that I've ever seen. It's a Republican candidate who's the president now. When was Romney wear offensive? When was John McCain wear? Well, John McCain wear was offensive because he was
in so many ways.
Seriously, if you wore an Obama hat or a Hillary hat, if you're still that sad of a person to wear Hillary gear, you're not going to get kicked out of the gym. Only does this exist with Trump stuff. And it's funny because you don't even see this happening in Europe when people wear stuff for the candidates on the far right. Nobody kicks you out of restaurants. We're the place with the First Amendment, but it really doesn't feel like it sometimes. We should be able to wear whatever we want. It's not offensive. You see people wear a lot worse than they. You live in Manhattan. They wear stuff with whole bodies out, and it's sickening. They go to the gym like crazy people, and it's offensive to wear a Trump shirt. It's just not right, and I don't know when we're going to stand up to it. But in a way, they have their right to refuse service, I guess. But do they really? I mean, what does the Supreme Court say? The bakers and I don't know, you know, when they kick people out for making cakes for weddings and stuff. When do we have a ruling on this? Can you wear, I mean, can you imagine if that went to the Supreme Court? Can you wear a shirt to a gym that says Trump? But that could be where we're at right now. It's that sad. And I think it's critical that we don't back down on it. I mean, maybe not in New York because you might not come back home if you wear a MAGA hat. It's that serious. I wouldn't wear it in downtown Philly. I get shot.
Yeah, you know, in New York, there was a case that there were these patrons that got kicked out of a bar for wearing MAGA hats. And the judge in New York, surprise, surprise, ruled with the establishment that kicked out the people with the MAGA hats. Yeah, and they said they could set any kind of dress code that they wanted, which is ridiculous. And it reminds me, one time I got into this hot city lounge. And you know how the city is. It's like if you don't have the right look, like they don't let you in. So I get into the lounge, and I got thrown out because there were too many blondes. And when I had blonde hair. So it was the most bizarre thing. And I said, I'm going to write a letter and I'm going to go to the Attorney General. And I did all of that. And they said that the establishment had the right to set whatever kind of code they wanted to, which I found unbelievably shocking. Like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. So you could discriminate against blondes. You could discriminate against somebody wearing a certain hat that you don't like. It's not like the hat is offensive. It doesn't have a picture of a penis on it or something, although they probably would let that go. So Deanna, what are your thoughts about all of this stuff? And by the way, I want you to answer. You're in California. We're all in probably like the 3 most liberal areas in the United States that you could be in. We just need someone from Chicago, and where we have like, the quadfecta. Have you ever worn Trump gear, and what happened when you did?
Yeah, on the day of his inauguration, I wore a Trump hat. I wore Make America Great Again hat, and I got threatened to be kicked out by a bunch of people out of a bar.
Wow.
And so we almost got kicked out. But the bouncer said, you know what, they're technically not doing anything wrong except for wearing this hat, so they get to stay. But, we would get people grabbing us, in our vaginas, saying, oh, you want to, you like to be grabbed by the you-know-what, and accosting us and pushing us, all sorts of things.
Wow.
Inauguration. And for his election night, too. Now, other than that, I haven't worn a Trump hat too much around L.A. because it's quite dangerous, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. It's scary. I get 98% people look like they want to kill me. So I will probably be a bodyguard next time I really want to wander around LA with you.
I wear Trump gear to the gym. I do, and I wear it a lot because I happen to have a lot of Trump shirts and hats. I get dirty looks sometimes, I'm not going to lie, but it's funny because MAGA people, it's like they call us Cult 45, but it's almost like if you see another MAGA person, you kind of give each other like the MAGA salute, like the nod, the fist bump, it's kind of funny. You're kind of like a little family because you know how difficult it is. Now, would I go out of my way to wear the MAGA hat, like go into, Chelsea in New York City and wear it? No. Are you kidding me? No way would I do that. And it's sad that I can't do that. I could tell you that Joey and I had this experience. We were trying to put together a MAGA meetup in New York. Right, Joey?
Right, we were.
And we really were not welcome in any of the establishments that we were trying to have this MAGA meetup in, right? Like, didn't the manager give you a hard time at one of the places?
It was difficult. When they heard what we were doing, first it was a meetup, sure, how much, what's the minimum spend for the bar was all okay. And then, oh, what's the meetup? Oh, political. Oh, well, Trump, Republican. Oh, we'll give you a call back. Never.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
That's just the way it is. It's crazy. I mean, I would love to see if it's that way in a place like Dallas or in a place like San Antonio where maybe there's less liberalism going on. It's just not right. We should be able to wear what we want. It's funny, when I was in D.C. for the walk away, Janet, my girlfriend from Hungary, she was with me. She didn't know that you couldn't make a mess. So she came in. She loves Trump with her Trump shirt. She had the Trump hat. And I'm like, you're not actually thinking to walk out of the house like that, are you? This was when we were in Brooklyn, where I lived at the time. Like, oh, no? I said, no. Only time I let her wear it was in front of the White House, take a picture, and put that damn thing back in the bag before we get shot. Because people are just crazy. It's sad that you have to censor yourself. Like, I don't want to get into a fight today, so let me not wear my MAGA hat. It's crazy. It's just so sick. And she was like, really? I thought this was America. He's the president. I'm like, yeah, I know. Sorry. I don't know.
I think with any other president, it would have been okay until now. Like, honestly, like once in a while you'll see a car, admit it, you'll see a car on the road. It's got an Obama sticker, hope and change. You kind of like roll your eyes and you want to actually, do you ever like look to see what the person looks like driving the car? Do you ever do that? And you kind of like want to know, like, you know, do they look like what I think they look like? And they usually do. So, you know, what you think of as a liberal. But I would never think of keying the car. I would never think of, you know, throwing them a dirty look or, you know, free to be you and me, you know. You want to be an idiot? You know, I'm used to it. I grew up in a blue state. So, so the time has come for our thumbs up and thumbs down of the week. So, Deanna, I'm going to give it to you first. You get the platform.
All right. Thumbs down. I almost want to say 3 thumbs down, but no, thumbs down was, you know, lighting up the One World Trade Center in pink. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. It's just like, it's so disgusting. Like I said, that's considered a victory. And especially when we just had that, you know, the March for Life march a few days ago, it really felt like a big slap in the face and a complete dishonoring and a lack of, you know, they won't even acknowledge people who believe in the right to life as people eat. You know, like we're stupid. We don't have any voice. They wouldn't even acknowledge it. The timing was so insensitive as well. So that was a big thumbs down for me. And I would say a thumbs up was, you know, Trump and his letter that he released today to Nancy Pelosi. It was a great letter about, you know, him wanting to proceed with the State of the Union, and that it would be very sad for the American people to miss out on this important message because of Nancy Pelosi and the obstructing Democrats. This is why I love our president so much. I love his cojones. I love his strength. And I think that we just need so much a strong man like him in the office. And that's why he's my man. He's our president.
That's right. Amen. MAGA on that one. And Joey, what about you? What's your thumbs up and thumbs down this week?
Thumbs up definitely goes to the people of Venezuela. They are working so hard, and it's almost done. They're trying to throw Maduro out of power. Trump officially recognized the opposition leader as the leader of Venezuela. So thumbs up, because they might just be getting out of that mess. Oh, I would really love to see that. And thumbs down to Nathan Phillips. He deserves the thumbs down, and especially to Nathan Phillips, dentist. Because whoever says that Nathan Sandman was smirking, I think he was just trying to not smell it. You know that face? It's all for you. That breath, those teeth have been rotting for years. And he's a liar. I wouldn't say it unless he was a lying person who lied about fighting in Vietnam. But he's a liar, and he has horrible teeth.
Yeah, he's disgusting. And, you know, honestly, I look at a smirk from Nicholas Sandman, and I look at a smirk from, let's say, Peter Strzok when he was doing his congressional testimony. Not even close. Not even close. Remember the Peter Strzok? Remember that whole GIF that was going around? So my thumbs up actually goes to all the investigative Twitter journalists out there and all the people like at the Gateway Pundit, like Cassandra Fairbanks, you got Joe Biggs. What they did was use their star power to organize people to take screenshots of all of these tweets that were just absolutely libelous against these boys and downright illegal threats against these boys. And they, CJ Pearson's another one. And people sent them these screenshots, and they organized them, and they gave them to this Barnes law firm who's going to sue the pants off of these characters. A lot of them are blue checkmark liberals. And my thumbs down goes to everybody's favorite idiot. It's a New York themed show today. New York's own Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I hate giving her screen time and airtime, but people hate that. But she compared global warming and said it was this generation's World War II. Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, so, 6 million Jews getting rounded up and killed and starved and experimented on by Joseph Mengele is the same thing as global warming. Okay, by the way, global warming, climate change, whatever you call it, it's called weather, girlfriend, okay, and it happens every day, all right, so chill. So that's my thumbs up and thumbs down. Deanna, where can people find you?
They can find me. All my action is on Twitter and YouTube mostly, and that's Deanna Lorraine 7 on both of those channels, and on Instagram. My website is deannalorraine.com. That's for my coaching, and my book, Make Love Great Again. you can find that on Amazon. It's a great book. Pick it up.
Excellent. Leave a 5-star review, everybody. And Joey, where can people find you? Because you change your Twitter handle like I change my socks, which is like 3 times a day.
It's horrible, but you can find me JoeyMaga. Really easy. And just make sure you follow me wherever I go and check Tracy's page and check other people, because they shut me down, they ban me, they shadow ban, but I try so hard to always be somewhere.
I love that. You should have a show. Just call it the Joey MAGA show. Joey MAGA. It just sounds fun. You should.
Yeah, why not?
Definitely should do that. And you know me, I'm Tracy Belmonte. You can find me at Real Politidiva and politidiva.com. And we'll see you next week. And we'll have the State of the Union done, and we'll have so much to talk about. I'm so excited. All right, so we'll see you next Tuesday. Oh, wait, that didn't sound good. But you know what I mean. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Love you.